Coming up here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, we have another loaded show on the docket, and I appreciate all of you for hanging out here with me. Let's talk some Niners. Ricky Pearsall is injured. Should we be concerned? We'll get into that. We'll also take a look at the 49ers injury report as a whole going into this Week 4 game against Jacksonville. There are some good parts of that injury report. Very rare for the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners also making a couple of roster moves. We'll take a look at some Nick Bosa replacements. And according to an ESPN NFL insider, he's looking out for the Niners in the aftermath of this season-ending injury to Bosa to make a trade. Before we get into all of that, sincerely, thank you so much to the faithful for supporting the program here. We surpassed 172,000 subscribers here on the channel, and on last night's show alone, we gained 325 new subscribers. If you're new to the program, type new down in the comment section. I appreciate you, and I promise you, you're going to really enjoy our coverage. And on today's show, I just want to test out how supportive you are. Can we beat that number? If we do, it wouldn't surprise me, but I'd certainly appreciate that. We give you Niners coverage every single day, year round. All right, let's begin here. Big storyline for the 49ers today. 49ers wide receiver Ricky Pearsall has a knee injury. He did not practice today. Should we be concerned? Obviously, anytime there's an injury to a Niners player, considering their history as an organization, dealing with injury problems to specifically a lot of stars, a lot of people start to panic. And I said this morning that the 49ers badly needed Pearsall here in 2025 to take a leap, to become and develop into a legitimate wide receiver. Well, to start the year, the first 3 games of the 2025 campaign, he has. He has been superb. To date, he has 16 catches for 281 yards. He is averaging an astounding 17.6 yards per catch. In his last 5 games, going back to last year, he's gone over 100 yards in 3 of them. He's been a very explosive player. Across the NFL so far here this season, he is number 3 in receiving yards, number 1 in air receiving yards. So he's making plays downfield, really good footwork, short area wiggle and burst. He has some long speed. He's a really good route runner, and he has really good hands. That's evidenced by him being number 1 in contested catch yards. Defensive backs have been close by. Pearsall's still been able to come down with those footballs, and he has truly been brilliant, and I really like how Kyle Shanahan has utilized him. Kyle has clearly asked Pearsall to run a variety of routes. He's put a lot on his plate. Pearsall hasn't been overwhelmed. He's lining up as an outside receiver, on the inside, to the right side, to the left side, and he's running routes at different depths all around the field, and he's excelling. Now, Pearsall did say if there was a game today, he would play. He's doing this out of precaution, but he started to feel some soreness in his knee after the game. And going back to the point that I had made, given the Niners' history with injuries, I'm always going to be concerned, right? We have PTSD on that front. But Pearsall has also been somewhat of an injury-prone player. The 49ers offense needs him. And I want to see selfishly, and I know a lot of you are with me, his continued development. And so Shanahan said hopefully he can give it a go later in the week. Hopefully he can. Hopefully this doesn't keep him from playing against Jacksonville. And if he does play against Jacksonville, hopefully he can stay healthy. He's been a joy to watch, and he's really turning into a special player for San Francisco. Elsewhere on the Niners injury report, these players did not participate today. Rookie wide receiver Jordan Watkins, calf. Of course, Nick Bosa, torn ACL. Pearsall because of the knee. CJ West got thumb surgery earlier this week. Still could play against Jacksonville. Just would have to put a cast on that hand. Wide receiver Jauan Jennings, shoulder and ankle. Trent Williams, a veteran rest day. Same for Christian McCaffrey. And then Yetur Gross-Matos hasn't practiced at all this year, but he's played in the first 3 games, and he's been really good, whether it's at defensive end or defensive tackle as part of that NASCAR package. Now, with Jauan Jennings, he did not participate today, but Shanahan did say today he was close to playing against Arizona. And that's a good sign as well for this Niners offense. These players limited. Quarterback Brock Purdy, toe. Quarterback Mac Jones, knee. It's good that they were both on the practice field, because obviously they've been dealing with their own injuries. Cornerback Renardo Green, neck. Guard Connor Colby, groin. And cornerback Deommodore Lenoir. All of these players outside of Purdy did play on Sunday, and it's looking as though they're going to be able to play on Sunday in Week 4 at Levi Stadium. And with Purdy specifically, all signs point to him making his return, coming back, and playing against a Jags defense that is very good, as we're about to talk about. He was moving around well, launching some long balls at practice today, and he has recovered well, and his progress has been very good coming off that turf toe injury. And he's going to get another weapon at the wide receiver spot, a player who I really like this free agency acquisition this offseason, Demarcus Robinson. He's a veteran. He's been a winning player. He gives you size. He gives you playmaking ability downfield. Every year that he's been in the NFL, and he's been in the league for a while, he's been on teams that have made it to the playoffs. He can go up and get it. Last year, he averaged more than 16 yards per catch, found the end zone quite often. His DUI suspension, first 3 games of the year, it's over. He should play against Jacksonville on Sunday as well. And this is a Jags defense that is a really good unit. I believe they're number 2 in EPA per play this year. They're 5th in points per game allowed as a unit, 10th in yards per game, 8th in yards per play, 20th on third down. So they've struggled a little bit to get off the field, but in the red zone, clamping down. And the Niners offense has struggled in the red area so far this year, but keep in mind, they have had 2 different quarterbacks playing. What the Jags have also done a good job of is generating turnovers. In the first 3 games of the year, this Jacksonville defense, they've been opportunistic. They have 7 interceptions the first 3 games of the year, whereas, isn't this crazy? The 49ers have gone 10-plus games as a team without intercepting a pass on defense. The last player as a Niner to intercept a pass, Isaac Yiadom, who didn't play well last year, and when the Niners played the Saints in Week 2, he was getting picked on by Ricky Pearsall. Today's poll question is this. Speaking of this game, what is your level of confidence that the Niners beat the Jaguars? I want you to scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1, not confident at all. 100, supremely confident. Join the conversation down in the comment section right now. Still to come here on the show, coming up just around the corner, the 49ers making a couple of roster moves. We're going to go through some Nick Bosa replacements. And also, according to ESPN, the Niners could be looking to make a trade. Our sponsor, though, for today's 49ers Report, brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the industry. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Download the app, create an account by using the link down below, prizepicks.com/CLNS. And when you play your first $5 lineup, you get $50 in lineups instantly. It's simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. This is the best way to win cash this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? You can forecast it. I know you know ball. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. How awesome does that sound? Join the millions of users and sign up today. Some selections that we like going into Week 4. The special this week from PrizePicks, Jalen Hurts, more than a half passing yard. Normally, the more or less would be 203.5. So this is a great special, and it's an automatic win. Christian McCaffrey, let's roll with more than 42.5 receiving yards because he's truly been an all-purpose player this year. Travis Hunter hasn't gone off yet. Maybe he finally has a good game against the Niners. More than 35.5 receiving yards. New users, play $5, get $50 instantly in lineups. Real money sports action made easy. Claim your $50 now. Pick more, pick less. Pick PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Going to put that link down below in the comment section, attached to the pinned comment, and in the show notes of today's 49ers Report. All right, we move forward here. What we're discussing here on the San Francisco 49ers Report, my name is Chase Sr. The Niners have made a couple of roster moves in the wake of that Nick Bosa injury. We're going to take a look at some Nick Bosa replacements, some players who the Niners could trade for, because according to an ESPN NFL insider, he thinks the Niners, after Bosa's injury, could make a trade. Let's begin here with topic number one. The 49ers roster moves here. Safety Jalen Mahoney worked out for the Niners the other day. He was with this team all throughout training camp and in the preseason, has familiarity beyond just this year with San Francisco. He has been added to the practice squad. Safety Derek Canteen, a rookie UDFA who played pretty well during training camp, has been released. Wouldn't surprise me if the Niners try to bring him back as a practice squad developmental player. And then I predicted that this was going to happen after the Niners brought him back to the practice squad. But defensive end Robert Beal has been added to the active roster. And there is no replacing Nick Bosa. It's going to have to be done by committee. It's not going to be easy because Bosa is such a one-of-one special player. And the Niners are going to need contributions from multiple players. If they can just get something from Beal, that would be huge. Because up until this point, they really haven't gotten much out of him. I thought he popped a little bit in the preseason, probably the most that he has popped and the best that he's looked since the Niners drafted him out of Georgia in 2023. And let's talk about the player here. 5th-round pick back in 2023 out of Georgia. When he was playing for the Bulldogs, a pretty decorated career, a 2-time national champion. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He never quite lived up to being that 5-star, and obviously it's hard to do that when you're playing on a program like the Georgia Bulldogs, that roster loaded, and he just didn't start or get many opportunities because there were so many great players ahead of him. Again, the Bulldogs during his tenure when he was in Athens won 2 national championships, and their defenses were great. But the appeal with Beal has always been the size, speed, twitch, and athleticism. He's 6'4", 250. In the pre-draft process at that size, this is silly, he ran a 4.48 40-yard dash. You're running sub 4.5 at 250 pounds. You can scoot, you can move, but in his career, he really hasn't done much. 22 tackles and 1 sack in his career. The Niners like the speed. They like the athleticism. He has some decent bend coming off the edge. They also like his length, nearly a 7-foot wingspan. But at Georgia, he was a little bit raw. In his NFL career, he has been raw. And at Georgia, he only started 10 games in 5 years with that program. I'm not expecting much of him, but if you can get something from Beal, obviously that helps you out a lot. And Robert Beal, we're certainly rooting for you. This is very interesting here. So Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano put together an article on ESPN.com, and they pinpointed some teams who could make trades over the next few weeks going into the NFL trade deadline, and they listed the 49ers as a team to look out for. And here's what Dan Graziano said with his write-up. I'm looking at San Francisco, where the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch 49ers have never been shy about making big in-season moves. Hello, Christian McCaffrey. And they are suffering through an incredible rash of early season injuries. The latest, to start edge rusher Nick Bosa. Falls into the irreplaceable category, but that shouldn't stop the Niners from seeing if they can bring in another edge rusher to supplement whatever plan they have to compensate for Bosa's loss. And I talked about this on the show, how the Niners can survive without Nick Bosa. And this is a message for all the people out there. Chase, why do you talk about trade rumors? Because the 49ers have been aggressive in making trades in season, off season, and oftentimes I'm right about this. And so it wouldn't surprise me if the Niners try to pull off another trade. In the meantime, without Bosa, until they potentially make a move, how can they survive without him? Robert Saleh can blitz more. You run some twist stunts and games just to try to get exotic up front with trying to get free hits and a free run at the quarterback to provide some pressure. Of course, when you're without Bosa, who does a great job of collapsing the pocket, pressuring and sacking the quarterback, the coverage on the back end has to hold up. Robert Saleh, up until this point, has been very creative with how he utilizes personnel. I'm looking for more of that. like, let's say, Jair Brown being used as a hybrid nickel and that big linebacker a little bit more. And that's something that Brown saw his role increase with from week 2 to week 3. Had like 2 snaps at hybrid nickel. Or no, he played 2 snaps week 1. He played, I think, 7 snaps week 2. And then that number went up into the 20s in week 3 against Arizona. And so do more of that. And as I noted, the existing players on this Niners roster have to step up. Now, I don't expect the trade to happen right away. I don't expect the trade to happen in the next week. I think the 49ers are going to see how they fare without Bosa over the next few weeks. They're 3-0. They have a little bit of wiggle room. They have a somewhat easy schedule. And up until this point, the defense has been stellar with Robert Saleh calling the shots. But if the defense struggles and the Niners with Saleh, Shanahan, Lynch have a conversation and they're like, man, we're not generating pressure on the quarterback, and quarterbacks are having all day to survey the field, process, and go through the reads, we need to make a move for a player, then I think San Francisco could make a move. Here are my 5 dream targets as far as trade pieces who the Niners could target to help replace Nick Bosa. And these players are all different, and they're all different ages. They're all different stylistically. The biggest star probably is Trey Hendrickson, a young player who hasn't yet signed a second contract with Jacksonville, who I think is only going to continue to get better, who has shown a lot of stride so far, is Trayvon Walker, another Georgia Bulldog. Kayvon Thibodeau is a player who the Giants drafted Abdul Carter. They have Brian Burns, and so he could be expendable, and New York is 0-3, and their schedule coming up is really hard. They're already on their second quarterback. Russell Wilson benched. Hello, Jackson Dart. Jalen Phillips is a superb player when healthy. He is recovering, or at least has recovered from a torn Achilles, but obviously with that injury history, that Achilles injury happened recently, you do worry about that. And he's slowly rounding into form, getting back to 100%. And then a player who is obviously older, but I don't think will require much as far as what you have to give up in a trade, but would be great in the locker room, maybe rejuvenated to a certain degree, coming to a contender, is Cam Jordan, who is going to be in the Hall of Fame and wear that brown jacket in Canton someday. And so with Trey Hendrickson, you're talking about a player who nobody has more sacks than him the last 2 years in the NFL. 17.5 sacks the last 2 years. The Bengals did not give him the contract extension that he wants. He's a free agent after this year. You might have to give up a first-round pick, maybe a second. He's off to another great start. He's been very durable. And if you do want to sign him to a contract extension, you could do that. And then once Bosa comes back, I know you have Mykel Williams as well, but you can play any of those 3 players at either defensive end or defensive tackle. Trayvon Walker probably not going to demand as much as Hendrickson, and he's younger, and I think his best football is ahead of him. We've seen the growth take place since he was selected number 1 in the 2022 NFL Draft ahead of Aiden Hutchinson, and I like Hutchinson better, but Walker's a really good player. Athletic, long, good against the run, can generate pressure on the quarterback, and you see the improvements here. Sack numbers have gone up 3.5 sacks to 10 to 10.5, and he's off to a solid start this year. You like the quarterback hit numbers and the TFL numbers, double digits in 2023 and in 2024. That's the ability to hold up and play well against the run. Kayvon Thibodeau, I liked him coming out of Oregon. I thought he slipped a little bit in the NFL draft. So far to start this year, even though Burns and Abdul Carter are better players, he's played well. He is graded out well against the run. 77.5 run defense grade, according to PFF. His pass rush win rate, 12.5%. He has 12 pressures in 3 games, 5 run stops, and 2 sacks. As a scheme fit, I think he'd be a phenomenal player for San Francisco, and I think Robert Saleh would really like to use him. And he's under contract for next year as well because the Giants exercise his 5th-year option as he was a former first-round pick. Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips is a really interesting player because he is supremely gifted. He's a very good athlete. He's 26 years old. Obviously, you have concerns because he did tear his Achilles. Prior to that injury, it was looking like he was on pace to having a really good career and season. Unfortunately, the Achilles injury kind of zapped him early in the 2024 campaign. But year 1, 8.5 sacks. Year 2, 7. Year 3, 6.5. And then he only played 4 games in 2024, had the 1 sack. Then he popped his Achilles. He's played in all 3 games so far this year. Again, slow to start the season. But again, I mean, he came back off that Achilles injury very, very quickly. Goes to show you the freak athlete that he is. And I do think that he can still be a great player coming off that injury. For Cam Jordan, an older player who's obviously at the end of the road, but he's still playing very well, very accomplished, and he would be a great fit scheme-wise and in the locker room for the Niners. And I don't think that he would cost all that much. We're talking about a guy who is a Saints legend, and so it would be emotional for that fan base to see him go elsewhere because he's been the heartbeat and the pulse of Louisiana and New Orleans. But man, what a career. 3-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, a member of the 2010s All-Decade team. He has 123 career sacks, 1.5 sacks in 3 games to start this year. Other Bosa replacements here who I would like. Jermaine Johnson, also recently tore his Achilles, but is a really special player when he's 100%. Carl Granderson, also of the Saints. What do the Jets and Saints have in common? They are both 0-3 to start the year. Azeez Ojulari has been a healthy scratch every game so far for Philadelphia. He's only 24 years old, and when healthy, he's been highly productive. Another Georgia Bulldog who has a lot of explosiveness coming off the edge. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, former Buck, former first-round pick, who didn't really work out there, wouldn't be a starter, but a good depth piece. And then a player who has familiarity with Gus Bradley, who's on this staff under Robert Saleh, is Kwity Paye. Played his college football at Michigan, 8 sacks last year. In a contract year, he could be expendable, but have to keep in mind that the Colts are 3-0 in this season that they're honoring the late, great Jim Irsay. So with that, who is your dream trade target for the 49ers? I gave you a few of mine. I want to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button as you scroll on down to leave those comments.